Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a closer look at Tronsmart's Apollo Bold. These are their flagship wireless buds, and this is a company that's more well known for value-oriented wearables, but the Apollo Bold is going to be more well constructed and has almost all the flagship features that we expect these days, including support for hybrid active noise cancellation or ANC, including both feed-forward and feedback, and claims to cancel up to 35 decibels of sound. They also come with the latest generation Qualcomm aptX certified chip. On a single charge, the buds can last up to 10 hours. With ANC turned on, it's a little closer to 8 hours, but with the battery case combined, you'll get upwards of 30 hours when on the road. Also has a reverse ANC ambient transparency mode as well that can magnify the noises around you so you can hear what's going on and communicate without taking these out. They even have a ambient light sensor, so they will automatically play and pause the music if you remove them and resume when you put them back in, similar to AirPods and more expensive buds we've seen. So again, fully featured in terms of everything that you could possibly want. They use graphene drivers that are built on in, and it also shows you some more details in terms of the design process and how that ANC tech works. It claims that the hybrid ANC here is effective in canceling out a more wide range of frequencies, including even higher ones, closer to humans' voices, for instance. Further down below is where we have all the pamphlets, including the quick start guides, thank you cards, as well as some spare silicone tips to get a more custom fit, and a USB Type-C cable for charging. Taking a closer look at the battery case's design, I do think that this is perhaps the weakest element of the Apollo Bolds, because from the exterior, the case isn't anything too fancy. In fact, it's a little bit generic looking. However, thankfully, the buds themselves are much more interesting with this chrome ring on the outside that does make it look a bit more unique. Now, on the back here, we do have a USB Type-C port for charging. We have a bit more branding information on the inside of the door. The buds do have a very circular kind of disc-like shape to them, which is a little reminiscent of, say, the Microsoft Surface buds, as well as even the last pair of ANC buds that we reviewed, which was the Buttons Air X, also have this distinctive shape that definitely makes it a bit more obvious when you're wearing it. Still, they fit well into the casing, they're magnetic, and they're held into place quite well. When you remove them from the case, they will automatically begin pairing with your device. Now inside they have 10mm dynamic drivers, which are above average. Typical ones on these TWS style buds are around 5 to 6mm, so larger drivers typically can pack bigger sound, and we'll talk about that more later in this video. Otherwise, we have a touch-sensitive D-pad on the top of these buds, which is very responsive, and thankfully these have controls for everything you could possibly want. You can tap once to lower or raise the volume. You can also double tap to skip tracks and single tap on the left side to access the different ANC functions, like turning it on, tapping it 3 more times to go into the ambient transparency audio mode, tapping it 3 more times to turn the function completely off. And the other side can be tapped to access the voice assistant. So very fully featured. Otherwise, they have a very ergonomic shape to them, and we can kind of see this flashing light, which is invisible to the human eye, but captured on camera. That is the infrared sensor, which can detect if you're wearing these or not. Overall, they fit very snugly, and they're not too heavy either, so you can wear these comfortably, at least in my testing, for a few hours without really noticing any stress or strain. So despite the fact that the outer design here is a little on the larger side, the inner portion is still pretty compact and similar to other buds. Here we have a look between these in terms of their kind of form factors and size. So the buttons are in fact a little bit larger, even though they also have this round shape to them. Moving into audio quality and performance, I'll say that the Apollo Bolds are very impressive, and it's actually where it shines the most. In terms of the bass, it's super pronounced. In fact, these are probably one of the most bass heavy pairs of TWS buds I've ever checked out, and so if you're a bass head, you will definitely love these. Whenever you hear a drum beat or anything that hits in the lower frequency, it definitely kicks and punches, but at the same time, it doesn't really bleed over to the other notes, so it still feels controlled and precise, but very rumbly and super satisfying in pretty much any genre of music that you're listening to. Mids are also very clean, filled with details in terms of the instrumentals and singers' vocals, and even trebles sound good. They're not too shrill or distorted. They're also quite clean thanks to that aptX chip from Qualcomm, so there's no hints of any distortion or static any hiss or hum in the background, even if you turn the volume down. So great. The latency is also very low, as expected. So you can play and pause an audio track, you can watch a video on YouTube, and the syncing process, there's no real issues in terms of the mouths of people getting out of sync with the audio. You can even play back games, and there's not too much lag either in terms of the controls and what you're hearing as you're wearing them. More surprisingly, however, is that the active noise cancellation is one of the most effective I've tried yet. In terms of cheaper ANC buds, I always expect them to not work quite as well as, say, Bose's or Sony's, but these get surprisingly close for over half the price. I would say when you turn them on, over 90% of the noise gets suppressed. Not only the lower frequencies like fans and engines if you're in a car, for instance, but even some of the humans' voices around you as you're listening, the conversations become muted as well, so it's very effective and super obvious when you flick this function on. Definitely one of the strongest effects I've heard yet on something so small. Even the transparency audio mode works better than average. It actually magnifies the sound very effectively, so I was able to hear what's going on and have a conversation without removing these. If anything, I would say that just like any other pair of ANC buds, when you have the function turned on, it does add a bit more of a slight kind of distortion in the background just as part of that technology, as it's creating that reverse sound wave. So if you want the cleanest sound free from any hissing or humming, then you have to use it in the regular mode, but that's again to be expected and can be generalized to any pair of ANC buds on the market. So that's more or less it as far as our hands-on review of the Tronsmart Apollo Bold. Overall, I would say for the price you're getting, under $100, this is definitely one of the most well-rounded pair of buds that I've ever reviewed. So it's definitely worth, I would say, every dollar if it's asking price in terms of the sound being super on point, especially if you love bass, connectivity being strong and almost flawless, and the controls giving you access to everything, including volume, which is often omitted, and the fact that they're comfortable, as well as the ANC and ambient modes, I would say punching above their weight class. It can even rival more expensive options like the AirPod Pros. Really in terms of the sound and experience, these are definitely worth a closer look. You can check out more details if you're interested in links down below. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Tronsmart Apollo Lake Hybrid ANC wireless buds.